Bottom of the ninth inning here in Atlanta, and Kyle Finnegan to be on to try and close this one out.
This one to left.
All right.
Jinkaloo has it, so do the Nats. They win a scintillating last game of the season. Kyle Finnegan gets save number 28, and it'll be 71 for the Nats in 2023.
Kyle Finnegan recording the last out for the Washington Nationals of the 2023 season, looking to go up in 2024. Joining me now on High Heat. Thanks so much, Kyle, for taking a few moments to be with us today before the holidays. I want to ask you what it was like for you finally having a full season under your belt for the Nats in that closer's role.
It was an awesome opportunity and a great challenge, and it was great to see our team grow and for myself holding that role all year. It was awesome to compete with those guys every day. And, I feel like I grew as a player myself and having more confidence getting those last 3 outs of the game. And, I've been working hard this offseason and excited to get to spring training and see what we can do this year.
You mentioned the last 3 outs of the game, and those 3 outs are harder than any of the others in the game, Kyle. Why do you think closers are just a special breed? You guys are a little different. You tick to a different clock there.
I think you find what makes you tick. And, a lot of guys that pitch at the end of the game can kind of feed off that adrenaline and that intensity. And that's something that's helped me through my career. So, I live for those moments. That's why you play the game, to come up big for your team and help secure a win. So I've really been enjoying pitching at the end of the game. And, you try and treat it the same, but we all know it's a little different. So you got to embrace that and block out all the noise and just execute and do your job.
All right. Splitters are up, sliders are down. Why the change?
I think it was just kind of the flow of how I was doing. The splitter was working well for me, so used it a little more. I would like to get a better mix this year. So been really working on my slider and a breaking ball this offseason, but keeping the splitter, is one of my better pitches. So keeping that where it needs to be and just kind of the way the season took me, I was having a lot of success with the splitter and the fastball. So, if it wasn't broke, don't fix it. Or if it's, yeah.
Yeah, you got it. If it's not broke, don't fix it. I got you. On May 5th, back in 2021, you had an immaculate inning. Talk about being in the zone. Tell me more about that. What do you remember from it?
Well, it was fun. Throwing strikes is fun. It's easy that way. So I remember, the first strikeout, 3 pitches, and a lot of guys do that to start an inning. So wasn't that big of a deal at the time. Then the next guy down on 3 pitches, and then around pitch 7 or 8, I just totally blacked out. I didn't know where I was. Couldn't feel anything. I don't remember the last pitch. I just remember walking off the field and hitting gloves with Jan Gomes and realizing what just happened. And then the next inning, they kind of put it on the video board. So it was a cool moment. It's exciting to have those accomplishments in your career, and it's a lot of fun when you're throwing strikes like that.
Yeah, it's and small company too. Not a lot of guys can say that they've thrown an immaculate inning in the big leagues. Prior to your big league career, obviously a Texas State Bobcat, you don't hear of a ton of Major League Baseball alum from Texas State, but you and Goldie, and you're 0 for 2 with a walk against him, facing him in the big leagues. What was it like facing him, knowing you guys went to the same school?
Yeah, it's always fun. He got his number retired at Texas State, and I got an opportunity to speak at kind of their leadoff banquet to kick off their season. And I was saying, hey, we retired his number, and I've gotten him out twice. So, what does that say? Retire my number.
I mean,
no, but he's a great player, and it's
plan.
fun to compete against him. We have a lot of roots. He's from Houston as well. I'm from Houston. We both played at Texas State. So anytime I'm able to see him is very cool. And go Bobcats.
That's right. All right. I know you're in the back end of the bullpen there, but you guys have the makings of a good young starting rotation, Kyle. When you think about, obviously, Josiah Gray, you think about some of the guys in that rotation, Mackenzie Gore, of course, you could be getting Cade Cavalli back. What does that mean to you to just see kind of the direction that the Nationals are going? Of course, winners of the World Series in 2019 and trying to get back to that point.
Yeah, it's exciting to see those guys grow and come together. I feel like when you get a core group of young players that are all kind of progressing together at the same time, that's when you get those special groups. So we think that we have that in those starting pitchers and some of our core young position players. So just for myself, just being there for them, letting them pick brains and helping them in any way I can. And you know, they've got so much talent and they're so young and raw, and it's just fun to watch them go out there and have fun and enjoy the game. And it's exciting to see their ability. So it's going to be a great season. I'm excited to get to spring training and be with those guys and see how hard everybody's worked this off season. And we're looking to do some things here in 2024.
All right, you talked about picking their brains. You were a starter for 3 seasons before moving into the bullpen. So do you still talk to the starters that way? I mean, do you guys still kind of compare notes? And what was that transition like for you going from the starting rotation to a bullpen guy and now a closer?
Yeah, relievers always joke around. We're all, failed starters in some capacity. So, you can learn different things from guys that aren't in your exact position. So whether it's pitch grips or mentality or how you're attacking a certain hitter or setting a guy up, we're all here for each other, regardless of our role and our age. We're all here to help each other and try and do something special. So we talk all the time in the clubhouse. We're a very tight group, and I hope they've been able to learn something from me, because I've definitely learned stuff from them along the way. So yeah.
All right, Braden, Cooper, Carson, Kyle, or Mom? Who's the best athlete in the family?
Ooh, I think I got to go Braden right now. She's a really great soccer player, and she's also doing basketball right now, which I've really enjoyed going to those games, her local basketball games. So that's her in the middle there. She's a great athlete. She's super competitive, and she's a joy to watch play. So we're very lucky to have her.
All right. Beautiful family the Finnegans are. Congratulations, Kyle, on a great year. 28 saves for the Nationals in 2023. Best of luck ahead. Great success, and Merry Christmas.
Thank you very much. Merry Christmas to you.